Hello, and we are back with another sort of practice lesson that you can put into place. It's going to involve a little bit of art history. As you can see here, I have artist Rene Magritte. He's a Belgian artist during the early 1st century through the mid-century time period in our country. And the picture or the painting on the right is called Son of Man. And he painted this about 2 or 3 years before he passed away in 1964. And he was part of this early movement in many countries called the Surrealist movement, where they painted the absurd. They painted things that could only happen in fantasy or dreams. And this artist, you'll see him pictured down here. Here's Rene down at the bottom. He's from Belgium, and he created a very interesting look about himself, which he carried over into his artwork at times. He was often in a nice suit, black suit or gray suit, and his signature bowler hat. And the hat appeared on several of the men and the figures within his paintings. Even the painting that's behind him is rather surreal in the sense that it's a man with a hat, but absolutely no face. Over here, the Son of Man that we're looking at, the man has this random apple floating in front of his face. We don't know why. We don't know how it's there. So surreal is painting things or creating things realistically that could never really happen in the realm of natural law. This is kind of showing us the sense of flotation, right? All right, so we are going to reproduce this view or this appearance using modern day photographs that I found on the internet, and we are going to learn how to composite. To composite is just that, taking images from different sources, adapting them, changing them, maybe recoloring them, cutting them out, and pasting them together in such a way that they feel like they're believable, much the way he painted. All right, so beyond that, let's get started. To get ourselves started, we're going to start with a brand new document. And again, this is the desktop version. I have the other video available if you're working on your iPad. But this is the desktop version of Photoshop that we'll be working with. So if you had downloaded on your computer anywhere, whether it's in pictures or on your desktop temporarily for you to use from your Google Drive, you'll be getting those pictures one at a time from that spot. I'm going to go, and since mine are actually on my Google Drive on my desktop, I'm going to go to my classroom folder and get mine. But if I had downloaded all of my pictures, they could have been, again, either in pictures or they could be on the desktop just waiting for us to grab them. All right, so here's all my pictures here that I'm going to work with. We need a copy of Ocean. We need a copy of Granny Smith, Apple, copy of a frame, copy of a flat wall, copy of a bowler hat man, and copy of a black suit. All right, so what I'm going to do first, though, I'm going to reduce here, is I need to bring my tools back. I removed my tools so you could have a bigger screen view, and to do that, you just hit the tab button, and when I hit the tab button, everything comes back. My measurements and all that good stuff kind of reappears for us. All right, I'm going to shrink in a little bit here on the layers, make that a little smaller for myself so I can have a little bit more viewable room and stuff like that. And I'm going to reduce my picture size a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go File, New, because we are creating a brand new document to put all of our other pictures into. All right, we are not necessarily going to print this, obviously, we're not at school, so we're going to leave this with RGB color because we want it to look nice for the screen. Up here at the top, let's go ahead and name it with your last name. And then surreal, since this is our surreal picture. And we always want to work with inches when we measure things. So I'm going to set this for an 8 by 10 document. And then let's talk about resolution. When we find pictures on the internet, they tend to have a DPI, dots per inch, of about 72 dots per inch. That's not very many colors of pixels within a small space digitally. And the higher dots you have per inch, say 100 or even 200, 2001, 200, that becomes an increasing amount more colors and pixels and dots, and it begins to refine the photograph. It has more clarity. It has more crispness of edges. In fact, the ideal would be a 300 pixeled photograph, which some cameras, digital cameras, shoot at, which give you a really nice quality of a photo that could be enlarged slightly and reduced without great deal of change to the quality of the image. However, a lot of stuff that we find on the internet might vary in size. And like I said, a lot of it lands in the 72, oh good heavens, I'm having trouble typing tonight, the 72 DPI range. The idea and the reason behind having such a low quality photo on the internet, dun, 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 we all want our web pages to open fast, right? The last thing we want to wait for is for a page to load. So the lower the quality of the photo, the faster the website opens. But you could find, you never know, when you go searching on the internet and looking for images, you might find something that's quite large. But most pictures are going to be around 72. So for what we're going to work with, we're going to be bringing lots of different pictures in from different resources. And I never quite know what all I might have. I might have a variety of things. But I'm going to have us put this at 150 DPI. We're just going to set it for half of what a desired amount would be because we've got a variety of things that we're going to do to it. We might be changing colors and things, and we want the colors and things to look really nice while we're doing it. All right, that being said, we're going to move on now. We're leaving that as white. We're leaving that the way it is with the RGB, and we have our name, and we're good. We're going to hit create. All right, so here's our basic 8x10 document that we have over here. There's our layer. All right, we need to now bring in our first picture, okay? We're going to be bringing in the ocean picture. So at this point, you can go to File, Open, and go wherever you have stored that picture within your desktop area. Okay, here's my ocean picture. I'm going to bring you in. And one of the things that you're going to notice about the picture, kapoosh, all right, is that it is a lot larger, woo, than 8x10. So we need to crop first. I'm going to crop an area that is just 8x10 by 150 DPI. Now, here is my crop tool. I have my tools doubled up. You can hit the double arrows here, and you can make them go single if you'd like to. Sometimes I find it's hard reaching and getting to everything, so that's just me, I double mine up. So here is my crop tool. I'm going to click on the crop tool, and as soon as that happens, oh, come on. I just went at the crop tool. There we go. As soon as that happens, this activity or properties bar at the top opens. It allows us to set the structure for the property, which is crop. Okay. This is a pull-down menu, and I want you to make sure that it does not say ratio. We want it to say width times height times resolution, because that's how we're going to determine our picture size. Okay, we know that we are working with an 8x10 inch image, and our current paper or design space is set for 150 pixels. So we want it per inch, so we want to stay with that measurement, okay? I can leave this right here. This is the 8x10 dimensions. It automatically structures it and confines it to that once we've decided on it. And it doesn't make any difference whether I have a wave or foam in the ocean or anything, because some of it's going to get covered later. So I'm totally fine with this. I'm going to hit, and then sometimes your computer might ask you to hit enter again, kind of depends. All right, so now it has cropped it. You will see things when you crop things on the computer tend to reduce in size. Look how it just kind of went whoop and got really tiny on the screen. It's really just, yes, it was a big numerical picture and we reduced it down to an 8 by 10, but a lot of times the computer will do that kind of adjustment just so that you feel like something has been done to the picture. We kind of want instant gratification that we've reduced something. All right, now that we have this guy reduced, okay, we need to now move him over to our photo area that we've established, our last name surreal document. So I'm going to go up. It's already, I want to make sure it's selected here, but just in case it isn't, I'm going to go up and go select all. It wasn't. What it had around it was a bounding box that showed us where the original picture that we chopped off would have been. It showed us the extension of that photo still. So I had to go up under select all, so it would select everything. And we know it's selected because of those little marching ants. We've seen those before, okay? So these marching ants say this whole picture is selected. I'm going to go up under edit and hit copy. And now I'm going to come over here to Martin Surreal and I'm going to edit and paste. And there it is. Okay, it is officially on its own new layer. Anytime you bring in a new photo, it will land on its own layer. All right. Okay, now we're ready to work with the flat wall and stone area down here. Because if we recall the look of the painting, it has some kind of a stone facade at the bottom. He's standing up against it, the ocean or water and sky. So we got to bring in a stone wall then. All right, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go File, Open. There's my flat stone wall where I saved it on my computer. All right, now we definitely have some things to take out. Thank you for rockinwalls.com for the photo. And from here, we want to make sure that we take out this section right here, which we don't need. We just would like to utilize the wall, right? Okay, so we are going to come up here and we're going to I'm going to use the quick selection tool. Since a lot of this dirt and greenery up here is very similar in pixels, and your quick selection tool looks for pixels that are rather similar, I'm going to work with it. Okay, so I'm going to enlarge my brush just a little bit. Now, to enlarge or reduce your brush, it is the two bracket buttons after the letter P on your keyboard. So the left bracket reduces, the right bracket enlarges. Okay, that way you can kind of go quickly in selecting things that are going to be fairly easy to grab. All right, so we have this selected. Now, what we're going to need to do for it to completely disappear and go away, we need to unlock this photo. Do you see how this photo has a little lock on it? So for us to be able to remove this and so that we can see the blank checkerboard that is behind it, which means there's no bottom layer or background layer beyond this, we are going to use our move tool and we're going to double click and then we are going to say OK. And notice how we have officially unlocked that layer. Okay, back to this over here, all I need to do is hit my delete button on the keyboard and ta-da, our stuff goes away. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to do Control D to deselect. See how my marching ants went away? Now I could have gone up here to select, deselect, okay, but notice how Control D is the keyboard shortcut for that should you decide to deselect it. Okay, now we're going to come up here and not to confuse you, we're going to use these little transform controls here in a moment, but my transform controls, my show transform controls, I normally leave them on just so I don't have to always go back up and turn them on myself, but I can turn those off. That is not a problem, okay? If they visually drive you nuts, you can turn them off. But we need to get this stone wall over onto our Martin Surreal. So we're going to go select all, because now we want the stone wall and the vast nothing behind it, okay? We're going to go edit, copy, come back over to Martin Surreal. We're going to go edit, paste, and there it is. Now, what I'm finding is the the stone wall is kind of going downhill a little bit, and we want this stone wall to be all the way at the bottom, but I don't want to tilt to it. So I'm going to now click on my Show Transform Controls that I turned off moments ago. All right, so I have those, and I can tilt this to find myself a horizontal placement that I'm kind of okay with. Okay, now notice that means that I'm not covering as much here. So that means at the bottom, I'm going to drag and enlarge this photo a little bit. Now, anytime that you want to enlarge a picture and you want it to stay in proportion and not get all distorted and either overly stretched vertically or horizontally, you pull from its corner, okay? If you pull from here, it's going to stretch it. If you pull from here, it's going to make it a little bit stretchier. So my best suggestion is always pull from the diagonal, and you'll keep things in proportion. Again, I'm going to kind of tilt this way. Okay, now, before I move on, I have to hit the Enter key. Why? Because I just changed the size and the alignment, I tilted it, of this object. So it is in what it considers a move or a function right now. So once I hit Enter, it is now set. See how my bounding box around it, my transform controls are now perfectly square to me. They're not tilted anymore. That means I have set everything in place. And again, if you want me to get rid of this, I will kind of pop those out of our way so we can kind of talk about other things here. We're going to come back to those eventually with some more stuff. Okay, so now we need to bring our man into the scenario. So I'm going to go up under Open, and we're going to get the dude, the man in the black suit. All right, so again, each one of these are opening in their own tab. See all my tabs up here? Okay, so I have to unlock him because we know we're going to get rid of all the white stuff, right? So for me to be able to delete it, I need to kind of unlock this document. So I'm going to double click and it unlocks. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right, so now we're going to use the quick selection tool again because look at all this white up against him. I need to get rid of the white so I can just keep him. So I'm going to come in here and go zoom and zoom. And notice how it's just grabbing all of the white areas. Awesome. Now, it won't maybe get all the little fine hairline things around there, but we can do just a minor little touch up and stuff later. I'm missing a little bit of his shoe, but that's okay, because remember, all we see of the guy is from about here up. So we're not even going to need his legs, technically. So now that I have my stuff selected, I'm going to hit delete. All right, there he is. Control deselect. Now I want to select all so I can then again copy, file, get back over to Martin, there we go, and edit, paste. All right, back to the move tool. Gonna move him down a little bit here. So in the actual picture, just a reminder here, we're gonna come back to Son of Man. All right, notice just below his hands is kind of where we cut things off, the length of his hands. So here I am back over here, and I'm going to like bring him down a little bit lower. There we go. But he's awful small in this picture, don't you think? Okay, so we need to transform him a bit. So let's get our Show Transform Controls. I'm gonna hold the corner and do a diagonal deal. I'm gonna make him a little bit bigger. We're going to keep making him a little bit bigger and drop him down. All right. Now, I have to leave room for a hat, right? And then we got that apple. So I don't want to go too huge. So I'm going to stop right here. Okay. Each one of these are on their own layer, okay? Which is beneficial for us to do any cleanups that we need to on the actual document. So I'm going to start first with zoom, 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 zoom. Notice there's a white haze around him, and there's some white there in the middle where his coat is. We should be seeing the stone wall behind him, but that was an area we hadn't taken out yet, okay? We're going to come down here. Look at the hand. We still have the white inside the hand space area. We need to get rid of it, plus there's a little halo going around him. So making sure that I am on the man's layer, okay? I'm not on any other layer. I'm on the man's layer. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to move my tools over just a little bit more. Okay, coming down here, I'm going to go down to the eraser tool. Okay, the eraser tool is a brush as well. So my brush is a little big. I'm going to make it shrink. Maybe it's a little too small. I'm going to come into here, and here are the brush options, the properties for the brush. So it's showing that my brush size is 4 points, and it tells me it's a regular brush. It's not a soft one or a fuzzy one or anything like that. It's a hard edge one right now, and let me do this. This tells me that it's a hard edge brush, not a fuzzy one. I don't want a fuzzy one because I'm going to be edging along the side of his coat and him, and I want to make sure I kind of have a little bit of a crisper stopping point on those. Okay, so, and then I want to remove 100% of the white that was left behind. The flow refers to if you have a hose, and what they're using here is the idea of an airbrush, but think of a garden hose or the faucet, that if you turn it on full blast, you know how it splashes everywhere? Yeah, this flow equals the pressure of how much something comes out of the brush. It affects probably more with paint than it does for us really in erasing, so I'm not going to worry too much with it. All right, so I'm coming down in here, and I'm going to start to work some magic. All right, I normally take several little short strokes to do this. If you try and just hold your mouse down for the whole journey, if you screw up, you have to hit, Control Z, go back, and then you've lost everything you did up until the screw up. Okay, so now I can kind of see the brick, look at there, the separation of the brick behind him there. Okay, I'm going to come along here, and I'm going to try and get some of these roughest edges where the white is definitely hitting. Might make my brush a little bit bigger to kind of dodge up against these edges here, just so I can see it a little bit better. All right, so so we can clean all those edges up. Now, I don't want to bore you with doing all of this, but the test of a really strong, good merging of composite is where your edges are definitely clean. If you have rough edges, it's going to look like you've got a really bad pair of scissors that you worked with. And you couldn't, let me move myself on over here, and you couldn't hold them very well in your hands. So I caution you to go slow on these, all right? Because I'm going to be looking for the care you took in the removal of any areas that you felt were obtrusive or distracting, okay? And a white outline or white residue on something is definitely going to be distracting. And if you chop into your guy's coat or to his person a little bit, that's definitely going to be distracting too if it stands out on us as something completely obvious. So take your time. You can see that I've got a lot of haze going around in here. I'm going to see what his face looks like here. If I got anything around the head and neck areas, not too bad. There's a little tweak up there around his ear, and yeah, we don't want to miss some of that. So I would spend more time on this, but I want to keep us moving. So the next thing that we need to do for this picture, say you have officially cleaned up our fella here, okay, and he is the size that we need him to be. And see how we removed a lot of some of those background edges here and there. Again, keep that going so that he doesn't have a halo around him. The next thing we need to do is his tie, because in the picture, he has a red tie, but our guy has a black tie. So we need to do an adjustment layer, okay? But first, what we need to do is to select the area we want to adjust. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool, okay? And smaller brush. Okay, we're going to come up here and we're going to grab some of this, We're going to come down here and look, zippity doo dah, it grabs a whole bunch of stuff, okay? And it takes care of most of what we need in this spot here. So here's what we're going to end up doing, okay? We are going to come along over here and we're going to choose in the bottom of the layers panel, way down here, all right? See me sneaky peek down here? All right, there's our half and half adjustment layer icon, okay? I'm going to click on the adjustment layer. I'm going to tell it that I want to work with hue and saturation because hue means you're changing the color and saturation is how much of the color you're changing. So here's our hue and saturation. All right, we are going to change and colorize the hue of this tie. Look at that. As soon as I hit colorize, it gives us kind of a burgundy feel, doesn't it? Okay, it's because the saturation is really low on the red that popped up for this tie. Okay, I can bump the saturation till his tie becomes redder and more red and more red. Now we don't want it to the point where it kind of like super shines and glows, but we do want it red. Now the difficulty with changing a color or changing something to color that was originally black is that the black holds a lot of dark values still, because look how dark this tie is. And I don't want the tie to glow, but I want the tie to look red. So to do that, we have to change the lightness of the overall image behind there. So I'm going to lighten it, and then I'm going to bump a little bit of the red. Okay, see how bumping it just kind of kept it very red, but it didn't make it neon, but it lightened it just enough that we can kind of do that. Okay, now this is really nice. I think we'll go with this. I'm going to close the properties thing. And the thing to know is that anything you do to this layer will affect all the layers below it. Okay, it's not affecting the ocean or the brick wall at the moment because the man is covering those. But anything that we would put above the man, if something goes in between these two layers, it would show this crazy red tie in between it. Alrighty. So now we have a little bit of ooze over. Can you see how, I'm going to zoom in here, how a little bit of that area got painted? All right, it got painted because when we selected it, I didn't go through and do all the fine detail. I did kind of see that it kind of ran over in a few areas along the neckline area. So we can fix that, but let's look at what we have. Okay, this is basically what we call a mask. The black area masked out everything except for the tie, which is the white area. With me so far? Black is everything else. The white is the tie. Now, the tie is now red. So white equals red. Okay? I want that little splatter of red and that little splatter of red to go away. The only way I can do that is to paint black back over that little area and that little area. Now to do that, one is my brush needs to be a heck of a lot smaller. All right, and I'm not painting white, I'm painting black. So I need to flip this so black is up on top. And I need to make sure I am on this layer and this little area frame is selected, the mask itself. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go do. Oh, my opacity is really low. I want to make sure I'm painting at 100% here. Okay, and I want to set this to normal. Good. So now, there we go. See how I removed the red flow over, and now we're left with just the shadow that's supposed to be on the shirt. Over here, I'm going to come in and get a little bit of that. There we go. And anywhere you might have oozed out, oh my goodness, it looks like he's got a red ketchup stain down here. I obviously need to fix this area down here because our quick selection tool got a little overzealous and it jumped into the grays. All right, so again, I painted black back on to mask off the red that was in the white section. Okay, so moving on. We need to get to this hat, right? Okay, so I'm going to back him on up here just a smidge. There we go. Okay, And let's move him over a wee bit here. We now need to go get the hat. So we're going to go up to, I'm going to move my little view screen up a little bit for you. We're going to go File, Open, and we're off to the hat, bowler hat. Our bowler hat has a background that has white, has gray hair, has skin tone, it has grays. It has too many pictures right now for us to actually, I don't know, use maybe just the quick selection tool on, but we'll see what we can get out of it here. We'll probably have to do some pushing and pulling just a little bit, but I'm going to say it's going to be easier for us to do the quick selection on the hat than it is on the random colored pixels in the background. Okay. Again, these are the most consistent pixels. These are more varied. Okay, so here I go. I am going to, oh, we need to unlock. Thank you. There we go. Unlocked so we can delete stuff. All right, so I'm going to come in here and now look at that. It's popping and it's grabbing. Woohoo! The areas that we wanted to have. Oh man, it goes over. Well, this is where I have to hold my Alt key and notice how I've turned to a minus. And I want to undo some of that selection. I want to start to push it up. We have to train the pixels to what we want, okay? So I'm going to inch them down just a smidge there, and then I want to inch them just up a little bit. There we go, not too bad. All right, so now I'm going to take this image here with the hat, and I want the background to go away, right? Yeah, so I don't want to hit delete on this. The hat would go away. I have to invert. So I'm going to go up under select. I'm going to choose inverse. That means choosing the opposite. We did, it was one of our words of the day, right? So now everything else is chosen, but the hat is not. So now I can hit delete and everything's gone except for the hat. Okay, so inverse selects the opposite of what you had originally selected. So now I'm going to go Control D. I'm going to go, and you know, it might be easier down here to kind of clean this up a little bit before I take it over because I have a nice contrast to this background, right? So I'm going to stay here for a moment. Let's stay here and let's take our little eraser tool. And he's awful small here. Let me zoom him up a bit. Okay, there's sort of a little natural fuzz around the outside of this bowler hat. So I'm going to kind of soften this up a little bit in my brush. Okay, and let me see if I edging there. I'll kind of get some of the edge under there. All right. So it doesn't show up on his forehead. All right. Okay, so we got rid of some of those little extras. Now we're going to take this guy over. So I'm going to go select all, edit, copy, file. Oh, go back to my file. I get so excited. Okay, go back to file, and now I'm going to go edit, paste. Ta-da! Now, this hat is way too big for what we need, right? Okay, first let's get him moved. Move it on over. Now we need our transform controls again, so we can go and reduce it. Now, we gotta be careful not to get too small. All right, we do need to kind of tilt it back the way it is in the photo. I think I got it too small here. Just a smidge. Now I'm going to ignore his hair just a little bit because the side of the hat should line up with the side of his face or be just a little bit broader, right? So here's sort of where the head and the ear would be. So I think we're okay there. What I'm going to need to do over here is get rid of some of that information there. Okay, so I hit enter so that it set it back to a square format. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these guys for us. And we need to remove a little bit of the guy's hair. But let's zoom in on it so we can remove his hair appropriately. We need to go to his level because the hair is with him, right? We got a little hair over there and we got a little hair over here we need to get. So I guess we'll just take a hair off. All right, see, there it's gone there and whoop, gone there. Awesome. We never know it's missing because the rest is scrunched up inside. Okay, so now let's zappy doodle back. Dink, dink. Now we're left with, we need an apple. So let's bring that apple on in. Okay, so file, open, Granny Smith apple. All right, we're going to do the extract with the quick selection tool. We have a wonderful white background. That'll be super helpful. We need to double click over here, say OK. We need to hit delete. See how this is becoming a pattern? All right, and then we're going to go quick to select, deselect. We want to select all, which takes now the apple into play. We want to go copy. We want to come back over here to Martin Surreal. We want to go edit, paste. Oh my goodness, it's a top hat tie wearing apple. How did that ever happen? I did it on purpose. Okay, so remember I mentioned earlier that anything that is below a layer adjustment is going to get affected. Okay, so right now the apple is affected by the tie mask that we made. Well, since we don't want the apple to be wearing a tie, okay, I'm going to now use this hand tool and move the apple up on a layer above everything. Shoo, that's much better. Okay, while it's big, I think I could clean up the base of this apple a little bit down here. See how it's a little wonky with the straight line where it was sitting on the floor? All right, let's come in here. Let's do a little negotiating, get rid of some of this business. We'll lessen some of the dark that's happening there, so it doesn't look like it's an apple with a black line at the bottom. All right, so again, anytime that you have hazes, you know, like there's a white haze going around this too, take time to clean it up. I'm not going to bore you guys with this in the tutorial, but cleaning up some of the edge as best you can. Don't do that. Oh no, that's when you can go Control Z and you can take it back. Okay, so we can do that. Now we're going to go to the Move tool and the Show Transform Controls tool, because we need to shrink-a-dink this guy down to an appropriate size. Okay, in the original picture, which we'll take a peek at here in a moment. All right, let's take a peeky at him. How is that apple? So the apple is inside the face area and it covers the eyes for the most part. Okay, so that's sort of our guide. We want to shrink and shrink. Let's see what this looks like. We need to go down a little bit more so that we're inside the face, but we cover the eyes. Look at that. I'm going to hit enter and take it. Okay, so there is our apple. Now again, if it was me, I would clean up some more of the white haze that's there so I don't see a white outline. That way it looks like we cut it really nicely with a pair of scissors. Okay, we have one last shebang to do to this thing. Also a shortcut, just to let you know, so I don't have to zoom out all the way to the full view. If you double click the hand tool, we have this in Illustrator, you get the full fit to screen view. Okay, so we have our man, bolo hat, apple, overface, wall, ocean. We're going to finish this guy up with a frame so he can look nice. So we're going to go open, and we're going to open the frame file. Let me find my frame file. Where's my frame file? Oh no, did I not bring my frame over? Oh, there it is. Oh, that's not the one I wanted though. Okay, let me hop back over here. I thought I brought everything down that I needed. Apparently I missed him. Okay, we're going to come back here. Where's our Google file? My drive. I'm going to go to Classroom. There's my frame. All right. Forgot where I downloaded him to. All right, beautiful golden frame. We're not going to do anything to this. I've already taken care of a lot of that for you, so it looks perfect. It's ready to go. So we're going to go select all, edit, copy, and then we're going to come back to our picture. We're going to go edit, paste. Oh my goodness, it landed on the wrong layer. It's kind of a cool effect. But this means we need to bring this bad boy up, 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 and away, so he is on top of everything. Yay! All right, so there you have it. You are finished. Just a few reminders is that we want to go File, Save As, and I would suggest that you save things for yourself in the Photoshop format, just so that if you have to change something or if I make a suggestion, you can still come back to the original and tweak it. Then save it the second time for turn in as the JPEG. All right, so always, it is always a good practice to save the original that you have in its original format, just like we did with Illustrator, and then come back and save it as alternate forms after that. So you need your PSD first and then to the JPEG for turn in. All right, happy working with pixels.